Hello and welcome to America Expo on Atlantic Television Network, where we'll bring you the biggest story in America. U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken and Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin have met with Qatar's Emir Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad and other top Qatari officials in Doha for talks in Afghanistan. This comes shortly after the Taliban claimed to have taken full control of Afghanistan. Blinken and Austin are the most senior U.S. officials to visit the Gulf since the Taliban's lightning seizure of Afghanistan in August. Blinken said on Tuesday that Qatar, which hosts a major U.S. airbase, have been the gateway for 58,000 people airlifted out of Afghanistan, nearly half the total number evacuated by U.S.-led forces after the Taliban's takeover. In a meeting with Qatar's Emir, Blinken thanked the Gulf state ruler for Qatar's extraordinary support in facilitating the safe transit of U.S. citizens and other Afghans at risk during the U.S. chaotic military pullout from Afghanistan. On Tuesday, Blinken and Austin met with Qatari Foreign Minister Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdurrahman Al Thani and Defense Chief Khalid bin Mohammed Al Attiyah. Blinken said Washington would continue to work with Qatar and other regional partners to evacuate U.S. citizens and vulnerable Afghans from Afghanistan. Meanwhile, Qatar's foreign minister said Qatari team were continuing to work towards reopening Kabul International Airport, which the Taliban took control of when U.S. troops left on August 30. And Brazil's President Jair Bolsonaro has signed a decree aimed at restricting the powers of social media companies to remove accounts and content. Bolsonaro said a change of regulations was needed to combat the arbitrary removal of profiles, while adding that the new legislation would help protect freedom of speech. Throughout the coronavirus pandemic, Twitter and Facebook have removed many posts shared by the president and his supporters that were deemed misleading. The president's office said the new decree aims to provide clarity on the powers of social media companies to police content on their platforms. Details of the decree released so far simply state that tech giants will have to provide just cause and motivation before removing an account or content. It is, however, unclear exactly how the order will be enforced. The announcement comes on the eve of what are expected to be large pro-Bolsonaro demonstrations across Brazil. The demonstrations will see supporters of the president protesting against the country's Congress and Supreme Court, which last month added Bolsonaro's name to a list of people being investigated over the alleged production of misinformation. Critics have said the marches, which coincide with the country's Independence Day celebrations, represent a danger to democracy. The United States Justice Department has promised to protect women seeking abortions in Texas after a state law that went into effect last week banned the procedure after 6 weeks of pregnancy. U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland said that his office is urgently examining its options to challenge the Texas legislation. He also pledged to cooperate with the FBI to respond to any threat to abortion clinics, citing the FACE Act, a federal law that prohibits attacks on facilities that offer reproductive health services. The Texas legislation, known as SB 8, incentives private citizens to sue anyone who provides or assists in abortion after 6 weeks of pregnancy. That enforcement mechanism is an apparent effort to evade judicial challenges under the federal right to privacy, which allows abortions up to 22 weeks of pregnancy. Last week, the U.S. Supreme Court, the top judicial authority in the country, refused to block SB 8 from going into effect, despite acknowledging serious questions regarding the constitutionality of the Texas law at issue. The ruling said the novel approach of the law makes it unclear who is enforcing it, stressing that the federal courts enjoy the power to enjoin individuals tasked with enforcing laws, not the laws themselves. President Joe Biden slammed the decision last week, calling it an unprecedented assault on a woman's constitutional rights. For his part, Garland said the federal government will not tolerate violence against those seeking to obtain or provide reproductive health services. physical obstruction or property damage in violation of the FACE Act. And finally, on America Expo today, we have not too good news. A Nigerian has again been fatally stabbed in the U.S. Boston Roxbury neighborhood in a night brawl by yet-to-be apprehended assailants. The deceased, identified as 29-year-old Ugochukwu McDonald Anele of Houston, Texas, was stabbed overnight on Atkinson Street near Southampton Street. Police who were called to the scene at about 6 a.m. said the matter is under investigation. Witnesses, however, say the fight that ended the victim's death started over a 99-cent lighter. And on that note, we call it a wrap on the program today. Thanks for watching.